Alright, today guys, we're in the EPI shop. We're going to work on a Ski-Doo. This is the new XP chassis with the QRS clutches. This one's an 09-010 style. They'll vary a little bit mainly on the jack shaft setups here. And the way we're going to show you how to do it this time is to actually change the clutching without pulling the whole jack shaft and pulling the chain case and stuff apart. So we'll kind of give you a quick rundown of how to install it and what to do with the kit. Most of this style chassis and clutches are the same, whether it's a 600, 800, 500 motor. So we'll switch through it and show you how it works. Basically, what we did is first we just broke this loose. We used the Ski-Doo holding fixture here and just broke the bolt loose. And you're just going to unthread that. This is a one-piece clutch puller. This is part number PCP3 from EPI. Just hand thread it in there. You don't want to use an impact because you can damage the clutch puller, the clutch, or your crankshaft. So I just want to thread them in by hand. And then what you do, is again, you just use the holding fixture to hold the clutch from rotating, and you tighten this up. As long as it's torqued on properly, it should come off fairly easy. If not, it'll kind of pop a little bit when it comes off. There, it just kind of popped off like that. Sometimes if you get really crank on it, it won't cop. If you just lightly tap square on the head of the clutch puller, normally that vibrations will kind of pop it off for you too. We already loosened up the belt. We threaded the adjuster in here and got the belt nice and loose so we can pull the clutch off easier. And then pull the clutch up out of there. And we'll bring over the bench and work on it. So we got the clutch on the table now. We'll just pull off the sled, just leave the puller in it. There's one thing you want to do first before you do anything, and that's going to be pull the clutch halves apart. I don't know if you can see this in the video or not. There's a little arrow there, and there's a little dot here. Sometimes it's a point like that, sometimes it's just a round dot. And then there's usually a little indent in the outside of the clutch here. What I like to do, just because it's easier for me to see and stuff, I like just to make an X on things so you can see where they are. Makes it easier to find and stuff. That way you know where you're at. With the clutch puller still threaded like it did when it popped off, all you gotta do is lift the clutch up an inch off the table and give it a little lobe tap. And that's normally enough to pop the two clutches apart. And you get this part here. Then what you want to do is you're going to want to slide this inner part up. And when you get so far, you want to use what we call button forks in there, because there's plastic buttons here, here, and here. And when you slide those up, those will go over it, so you don't have to fight trying to get them back together. Again, so you just kind of work it up slowly. They should come up pretty freely, depending on how dirty things are and how well your clutches is for a good shape and stuff. And then as you pull it up, you just slide these over. There's a little line right in the plastic button. Help line it up. Slide it up like that. And just kind of slowly work your way around until you're all the way up and out. It allows you to move it. These are going to be your ramps. Here's the buttons that we're trying to hold in with the button forks. When you're got all this disassembled, you want to blow it all out with an air gun, clean it up really good. That'll give you a better life out of your clutch. The main part we're going to change on this clutch kit, on this model, is we're going to change the spring, which is under here. Again, the spring cover has an arrow in it right here. it would line up with this arrow right here. Again, you can always make an X on it, makes it easier too. And then some kits will actually change the pin weights on this. This one we don't have to. If you do that, when you pull the spring out, that's when it's easiest to change the pin weights. You can just unbolt them from there and change them out. For now on this one, we're just going to change springs out. So there's all kinds of different spring compressors out there and stuff. This is the one we use. And then you just take out these 3 bolts. Usually a 6mm. And this part of the primary clutch, this is pretty much the same on all this, any clutch that has a TRE on it, which is pretty much all the mid-90s newer stuff, all has those. Same basic way to do this. Once you get the bolts out, you just slowly let this back off. It is going to be under a lot of spring tension, so you just don't want to let it loose if you're using a shot press or something else. You got to unthread it slow. So here we're pulling out the cover and pulling out the stock spring. Some models will have this little plastic shield here, some don't. It's a nice thing to have. It keeps the spring and everything out of the spring better, so it's better. On this one, it's pretty much simple. You just drop the spring down in, make sure it seats flat, free and clear everything. It spins and rotates, so you know that. And you start compressing this down. Again, you just want to make sure the arrow on this lines up with the arrow on the clutch. And it's just compressed down, put the bolts in, and you're good to go. Alright, so now we got the spring compressed down in there. Make sure all your arms are moving freely here. And it's just a matter of putting the bolts in, torquing them down, and then removing it out of the tool. Again, you want to clean this clutch really good. This one's pretty dirty. Just has a little bit of belt dust and oil and everything else around on it. So you just want to clean that up good. Okay, so then the next step you want to do is pull your belt off. You can do this ahead of time too, and it works either way. That way it's not, you're not pinching it in there and fighting it so hard. But set that off to the side. Next thing you want to do is and it's going to be hard to see, I'll try to shine the light in there too, but there's usually a little gold back bracket right in here. This kind of varies between the years and models, but you just got to take one nut off and it comes out of there. Looks like that. On some of the models there'll actually be a brake line tied to it, so you can't always pull it out, but you can at least pull it loose and get it out of the way. Alright, here's the Ski-Doo clutch compression tool from EPI. Again, it's going to vary between the years. The early years, you thread it actually inside the jack shaft. On the newer years, there's a different adapter here that threads on the outside of the jack shaft. All depends on what year you have. So then you just thread this in. You don't have to go crazy with it, you just tighten it up by hand like that. You grab the adapter, slide this on, and then thread this nut to it. And then the next part is the thing where it takes a little patience, and it takes a good adjustable wrench. We have one that the head pivots on. The smaller the better, but it's usually a 40 Torx bit size. and then there's 4 bolts back here on the back side of the clutch, and I don't know if the camera will get in to see them or not, but they're usually black. And then you have to take those out, and what I like to do is I like to go around and bust each one loose first, and we won't show you that whole time-consuming process, but the best thing to do is get it in a spot where you get the most room back here with your wrench and your ratchet, and then lock the brake, and that way you can force up and down on it, both to tighten it and loosen it when you're putting it together. So we'll do that, and we'll go from there. Alright, so what we did is pulled out 4 of these bolts. It is time consuming and takes a little patience, and you got to turn this and lock the brake and stuff is our best way to find it. Just remember, take your time so you don't strip out these bolt heads and stuff like that, because otherwise you're going to have to pull the whole jack shaft off. Once you get all those 4 bolts out, then what you do is, again, this is the EPI tool sticking on it. You just unscrew this bolt, and as you can see here, the helix will start coming out of the clutch. The only thing you really got to watch for, and if you can see it on this one here, is there's a little notch in the helix. Just got to make sure your roller's not stuck in there when you first start taking it apart. If it is, you can normally turn the brake, turn the track, it'll reset out of there. So. Once you do that, then it's pulling out the spring and the helix. On the EPI kits, we have you reuse that stock plastic shim in there, so you just got to pry that out and then put that in the EPI helix, and then put it back together. Slide that one in there like the stock one was. Slide the new spring in. Make sure it seats flat and can spin. And the biggest thing here is make sure this is around the helix where it has this little notch in it, that you want to go where this orange colored roller is. You want to make sure it's rolling up in the wrong spot. You can put it together wrong and it'll go in here. It's not going to work right because that's not the actual helix angles. So you just put it in. And then you just tighten it up and you just slowly go in there. You don't want to use an impact because you don't want to all of a sudden slam it into it. Everything like that. And also you got to work the clutch. The helix has a bushing in it. It actually has to go over the jack shaft. So you want to take it slow over that too until it gets, over that properly. It's going, it's turning free, so it's good there. And it's just a matter of tightening it back up. And you'll see it bottom out in the clutch, and it'll start pushing the outer half of the clutch that way. We're starting to push it open, so we're bottoming out against that now. The other big thing to worry is you can back it off to get you a little more room. Is the farther out you have the helix, but yet it's just touching, that gives you a little more working room in the back. So we're there now. The next tricky part is just to put this bolt back in. You got to put all 4 back in. I would normally use blue Loctite. They have yellow on them in there. But as long as you use some type of Loctite so they don't back out on you, because they will back out. And then it's, again, use your time and patience, get these in there. Once you get all 4 tightened out, you'll remove the tool and we'll go from there. So all the bolts are in now, they're tightened. We put Loctite on them, we use blue Loctite on them here. And then now it's just a matter of backing this off. Again, you just want to do it slowly, it's only going to go so much and you'll be able to do it fast. Pull that off and screw it from the jack shaft. And then This particular model had a shim here, so remember when you put it all back together, just thread that back in. So you have that. This is the older style. The new style's got just a plastic ring around there. Same basic concept though. You either got to thread them on one way or another, just to hold it on. And this helps set your belt deflection and stuff. So anytime you have these clutches apart, you're always going to have to double check your belt deflection once you're done. We're just going to thread this one on here loosely now. This part doesn't actually hold the helix in. The bolts that we just put in holds that in. This is just for deflection only. And once we get that, then it's a matter of putting the primary clutch on, and we'll go through that. Now we're back to our primary clutch, which is it's already got the spring installed in it. You want to make sure the arms are moving freely. Spin each roller, make sure they're good in shape. They're not stuck or flat spot or anything like that. As long as that's good, then all you gotta do is put this back in. Again, you're lining up. There's an arrow here and an arrow here. There's an arrow right here on this part. It might be a little bit hard to see. We just want to line those up so they all line up. You just basically push it in so it's lined up, and then just kind of slide it down. Those tools will fall off. Just kind of keep pushing all the way down. Once it's all the way down, then you come over to the fixed sheave, and again we put the X on the mark here, and you try to line that up as close as possible. And this has got a little, when we use the puller and we pull it apart, it kind of pops apart. You got to kind of push it back together a little bit. Once you get lined up, just kind of eyeball it, and it should pop down in it. If you need to, you can kind of tap it down with a rubber hammer. There it went all the way down. So we should be good to go. All of our X's line up. So then all you got to do, I already did this once, but just take a clean paper towel, wipe off the taper of the clutch, and walk over and put it on the machine. So basically, just slide the clutch on the crankshaft, thread your bolt in by hand, set it to the factory specs, and torque it on. You don't want to over tighten this because you can wreck the clutch, your crankshaft, everything else, or if you ever try to take it off again, it might not come off. So it's just a matter of getting it in there, tightening it down. So then again, just got to torque this down. Torque might vary between the engine models and engine size and stuff. So we're good there. Then what you want to do is thread in this. This is out of the toolkit in your sled. Otherwise, the EPI makes the little tool to thread in the clutch, and it'll expand the clutch wide open. Allows you to get the belt on there. Again, most belts have a rotation on them, or you want to read them from left to right so you can actually read the numbers and the letters on it. And then it's just a matter of getting it on there. And you're good to go. Then as you're backing this off, the nice thing is to do is just kind of keep working it back and forth. And then as you keep going, it'll just work its way through. If it gets stuck in there, you can run it out and just lift your sled up and turn the whole sled or the secondary clutch over. It'll spin out from there. Or if you have it on jack stand, you can start up and slowly engage it and it'll reset. So the only other thing I forgot to tell you about is you got to make sure to put this gold bracket back on. And if it's got the brake line, make sure you re-hook that and redo that. Again, depends on the model how it goes. But that's pretty much it. Then it's a matter of once you get everything set and reset to go out to ride, double check your belt deflection, make sure that's set correctly, and you should be good to go.